Let's go! Jaden Rashada, are you kidding me? He's actually making an official visit to LSU. And today I'm going to show you some data of how important official visits are when it comes to landing not only just recruits in general, but just five-star recruits. So this is actually really good, but also kind of sort of bad news as far as Rashada's official visit. Now, for those that aren't familiar with him, he's a five-star quarterback in the class of 2023. As many of you know, LSU has been after a bunch of five-star quarterbacks. Arch Manning, even though that looks like a long shot at this point. Eli Holstein, of course, not necessarily a five-star. He's also from Louisiana. He just committed to Alabama, but that doesn't mean LSU's not in the running for some other elite quarterbacks. Dante Moore has been the quarterback that has been more closely associated to LSU. But now we focus on Rashada. Here's the skinny. Rashada is currently on his way to College Station to visit, obviously, Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M. And then after that, he will visit Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So that is coming up within the week. And of course, LSU is going to put on the full court press for Rashada. Now, the first thing is he a better quarterback than Dante Moore, who LSU is also after, the five-star out of Michigan? Potentially he is. Like, there are some real cartoonish things that you could see on his tape. And he has been nothing short of dominant in California, where there are so many great quarterbacks. To me, the best quarterback in California and in the country right now committed to Tennessee, the Nico kid, who I love dearly. Let's actually take a look at Rashada and overall his standing with LSU. It was kind of a surprise, right? I don't think anyone really tabbed LSU as a potential landing spot for Rashada. And let's talk about this right off the jump here. Could he potentially go to another SEC school and play there? Well, look, Ole Miss has done a really good job recruiting him. They've already gotten him on campus for an official visit. Obviously, Texas A&M has him on campus right now for an official visit. And there's another SEC school that actually is in really good standing with Rashada, and you guys are absolutely going to hate this, especially if you are a UL Raging Cajun fan, as Billy Napier has done a phenomenal job, not only just recruiting Rashada, but just building some positive momentum for the Florida Gators. So, boom, I'm looking at you. Yes, you, okay? Now, this is where the fun part of the video begins, the prediction machine. So, look, as far as I'm concerned, I don't get too deep into, like, the crystal ball thing, especially now with, like, name, image, and likeness. And also in the background, you've seen so many Jaden Rashada dimes in this video that have been dropped by these receivers. So, once again, if you want to see his actual high school tape, we broke down a few of my favorite throws in our five-star quarterback piece. I'll link it down below. Now, first thing is we're so used to, like, these recruiting crystal balls, and a lot of times they are pretty accurate, but the only issue, 247 has zero crystal ball projections in for Jaden Rashada. It's been kind of a tough read to try and see where he's going to go, especially knowing that his commitment date is coming up, June 18th. So we're just like a few weeks away. And the reason why it's so important is because, of course, he plays the biggest position in the game of football. And a lot of these five-star quarterbacks, well, they're starting to dry up as far as you getting the opportunity to land one of them. So it's really difficult. The second thing, and once again, there's another drop right there. The second thing is there is a new recruiting site. Some of you are familiar with it. You're looking at their projections right now, called On3, and they have some very interesting metrics. I like some of the stuff that they do over there. And you're looking now that right now, according to their recruiting prediction machine, LSU has a 4.1% chance of landing Rashada. But the more important thing here is, let's say LSU doesn't land Rashada. This is where recruiting becomes very interesting. You don't want him to go to Ole Miss, Florida, or Texas A&M, right? Because you don't want to play him every year. You would rather him go to a different school in a different conference. So if you are rooting for someone that is not LSU, it would be California and Oregon, two schools that are very much in the running. More so, it looks like Oregon. And as far as proximity is concerned, of course, Oregon is way closer to California than the SEC. So Oregon very much in the running, as is Miami, who is also not in the Southeastern Conference. But here's the thing. I don't know too much about that recruiting prediction machine. I don't know what all goes into those metrics. And the crystal ball is honestly just comprised, the best way I can understand it, of just recruiting experts' best guess for which players actually land at certain schools. Now, this is where things get very interesting. What if we take a look at the history of official visits with certain recruits? Do y'all hear Z going crazy? All right, everyone, here she is. She was getting jealous. Huh? Are you still barking? What are you barking about? But anyway, I want to share with you these interesting charts. And we're actually going to bring in a player that just decommitted from LSU and Omarion Miller. So, we just did a video on Omarion, and this is going to factor into Jaden Rashada as well. This is a deep dive done by J. Bud Davis, a very interesting analytics college football follow. And what he found was, number one, if you decommit with a school, on average, signing with that school you initially decommitted with, that only happens 5% of the time. So you're looking at this chart again. The green line represents when a recruit decommits, your chances of signing him. As you can see, it's really low. The middle line is the official visit line, and the blue commit line, as you can see, when a recruit commits, you're more than likely going to sign them. You have a 37% chance of landing a top 100 player. So I know these charts can get a little fancy schmancy, but that is obviously a really good thing. So now that Jaden Rashada has visited LSU officially, or he will, hopefully it does still happen, that gives LSU historically a 1-3, or better, a 1-3 chance to actually land a player. Boom! I'm looking at you. Yes, you right now, okay? Now, this chart I'm about to show you, which is also made by J. Bud Davis, it might not be the best if you are an LSU fan and you really, really want Rashada, okay? So, this last chart shows the importance of the timing of the final official visit, or the order of the official visit, right? So, really quickly, just Cliff Notes version of an unofficial and an official visit. So, Rashada visited Florida, Ole Miss, LSU, all these different places unofficially, which means he is paying for everything. He is paying for his visit. An official visit is the opposite, where the school foots the bill, and you're only allowed to make 5 official visits. Now, I know that there's been a push for that number to be unlimited, but feel free if I oversimplified that explanation. I know a lot of you recruiting diehards probably explain that a little bit better than I do. So what this chart actually shows you is how important it is to be the last official visit. So if you only take one official visit, you normally sign 80 to 90% of the time with that school. If you take 2 official visits, you see how much this goes up if you're the last official visit, 60% to 23%, right? And then sometimes, a rare occasion, the player that only takes 2 officials will just sign with someone else that they didn't take an official with. So that's why that number doesn't actually equal 100. Now, we get to 3 official visits. If you only take 3, let's just say LSU blows Rashada away and he says, look, I'm going to LSU. Screw those final 2 visits. LSU then moves up to a better than 50% chance of landing Rashada. But as many of you know, he is going to take 2 more official visits before his commitment date on June 18th. And that is where things start to look bleak for LSU. That last official visit, let's just say Rashada skips that final visit, the school that gets his 4th has a really good chance. But the chart you got to follow here is this one, where Rashada more than likely is going to take all 5 of his official visits. You see how much bigger this discrepancy is. A near 40% chance compared to all the other visits. Now, you notice you want to be the last official visit, and you're looking at a few of the big takeaways J. Bud Davis had during his data chart. He didn't include the year 2021, where there was no official visits because of the Rona. So, yeah, this is a pretty startling takeaway, and I think more schools should take a look at this, because this will give you a better idea of guessing. That, boom, I'm looking at you. Yes, you. Let's just say you're a fan or a recruiting staffer let's just say that some really cool people have started watching the channel. So I'm very excited, very blessed for that to be the case. So let's actually apply this data to LSU's most recent 5-star out-of-state pickup, which was HAROLD PERKINS. Now, as many of you know, I was super high on HAROLD PERKINS, enamored by his high school tape. He was my #1 overall player in the class of 2022, and we're going to be talking a lot about him over the next couple of weeks. I'm very happy he's finally on campus, and let's see what this unbelievable athlete could do for LSU. Now, I never gave up on HAROLD PERKINS. I know a lot of you on live streams, kept saying, hey, he's committed to A&M. That's where he's going. That's where all the 5-stars are going. But I had people really plugged into HAROLD that just, kept telling me, hey, it's not over. It's not over. It's not over. And keep in mind, LSU was his last official visit. So now that I see this data, it now kind of sort of makes more sense. And the prediction machine started pointing to LSU and for HAROLD PERKINS. But once again, you go back to the initial chart, Texas A&M was also HAROLD PERKINS' first official visit. Texas was his second, and his third official visit was Florida, and that was when he was still committed to A&M. He still took an official to Florida, then he decommitted, and then he finally made his final official visit. So when a 5-star recruit in particular only takes 4 official visits, that 4th visit is the money visit, and LSU and Matt House and the staff was able to close ship on HAROLD PERKINS. So you see how that data kind of just matches up with how everything kind of worked itself out. Now, once again, there's more factors than just this chart, but now it kind of makes sense. Now, an even more interesting player is the guy that most people missed on by 1,000 miles, was actually, to me, my favorite Louisiana running back last year. That was Trevante Citizen. Now, nobody had this kid going to Miami, okay? The 247 crystal ball had no crystal ball projections going towards Miami, and the On3 recruiting prediction machine, I'm going to be interested to see over a 5-year sample how accurate their data actually is. Once again, I love their site, but they had Jabbar Jalouk, a former Louisianian, a really good running back coach at Florida, landing him, but the truth was Trevante Citizen's last official visit was Miami, right before the later signing period. Now, this isn't me calling out all these recruiting reporters who missed on Citizen. They are way more plugged in at recruiting I will ever be, right? That's why this is a tough job for them and a tough job for anyone. These are teenagers making split-second decisions on where they're going to go. And there might be money, there might be playing time, there might be different requests coming in at the last second that determines where you're going to end up signing. But you notice a lot of these recruiting predictions came in like after his final official visit. So that's what's really interesting is now that we have this data, it might make recruiting predictions more accurate. The timing of the official visit is so important. Even if everyone says, hey, he is going to Florida, always look at that final official visit, and more often than not, it's going to tell you where that recruit is going to sign. Now, this isn't a be-all, end-all. Leonard Fournette's last official visit was Alabama, according to 247, and he actually signed with LSU. Eric Gilbert's last official visit was actually with Georgia. He signed with LSU, but eventually went to Georgia. So there's so many questions that I have about this data. How does it compare to early signees, to fall signees? How does it compare to position by position? I've been talking to J. Bud Davis, and I'd love to dive into this data a little bit deeper. But if I'm LSU, obviously the most important thing is getting that first official visit. That gives you a 1 in 3 chance overall to land a top 100 kid. But for the most part, being that last OV is so critical. Now, I don't know how, you can actually work with that. But if you are an LSU staffer or just a staffer of any certain team, if a certain player that you really, really want commits to another school but still has more official visits left, give it a shot if you think you can actually get that kid on campus, because that last impression is so very important. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this deep dive floating in your face in just a second. There will be that quarterback piece that we were talking about a little bit earlier. You can actually see some of the ridiculous throws that Jaden Rashada has made. Don't forget to get in the comment section. I learned so much from you guys in the comment section in each and every video. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. And tonight we're doing fried catfish. Let's